Eldrick, Tiger Woods. The big cat was in front of the mic today, and he had a lot to say. One, about the state of the game. Two, about the state of his game. We're talking Jay Bird. We're talking Rory McIlroy. There was a lot to take in from Tiger today at the Hero World Challenge. Kyle, the biggest takeaway from Tiger's press conference today in your mind was?
Well, I had two. One, I think is probably the obvious one that most people will run to, and it's just the fact that he said his goal, best case scenario, most optimistic outlook, is to play once a month in 2024. Now, I think people took that to mean like 12 times. I think in his mind, it's just January through whatever, August or so what is that, 7 or 8? And so but still, like, that's 4 majors and then, 2 or 3 other events, which is way different than I think when he's been asked that question in the past, you would expect, well, we'll see how I feel, or we'll get to that when we get there in January or February. And he kind of laid the foundation for like, no, I'm going to play 8 times in 2024, which I did not expect. And I don't know if either of you guys expected it, but that came as a bit of a surprise. And then I think too, it was more subtle, Patrick, but he talked a lot about the behind the scenes stuff. He's obviously on the PGA Tour policy board now. And I thought he wasn't like laying out the negotiations, but he was a little more open than I thought. And it was very subtle, but he said, basically, how are we going to work the LIV schedule and the PGA Tour schedule together? And that to me was a tell of like, oh, LIV's not going away. Like they're trying to figure out how to make that. He didn't say like those exact words. Maybe you can pull up the quote, Patrick, for what he, like the specific words that he said. I don't want to attribute something to him that he didn't say specifically, but the implication was like, we're trying to make this work in conjunction with one another, which I didn't expect. I still kind of don't expect, but he obviously has a lot more information than any of us do. And I thought that was kind of a surprising part about his presser.
I do too. I think when you look at the schedule or possible schedule for 2024, the genesis makes sense, adding the Players' Championship. And then I personally think those 2 and the 4 major championships, I kind of think that's all Tiger Woods really needs to do moving forward. Mark, what do you think about that?
I'm just so disappointed, Patrick. He won't be at the RSM Classic or Jackson.
Fighting for his card.
No kidding. I'm sort of with you. And I'm heartened, as Kyle pointed out, that he would make it as concrete as what he ordinarily does, because the Tiger of the past, you never knew until Friday afternoon at 5:00.
Yeah.
The Tiger Woods was going to be in the field. And it was sort of like let's wait. And 4:59, we get the press release. The Tiger's not playing this week. And so I like the concrete aspect of it. I'm with you on thoughts and which events he's going to play. I'm still buoyant, perhaps about Bay Hill, a little lead-in time to the Players' Championship. And then, I don't know, maybe something prior to the Masters, or certainly prior to the Open Championship, where you go over there and you've got to get used to a different style of golf. So I'm curious to see what the 8 are. But look, the 4 majors, they go without saying. It's the other events that I'm very interested in. And then the whole signature series thing, right? So Tiger obviously gets an invitation to those, I would guess, because he's not going to qualify his way in there. So I'm curious to see if there's 1 or 2 of those events, like a Memorial or Quail Hollow or something like that, where he's had success before, that he would show up.
Is he in the player? Is he in the players' field?
Former champion, right?
But doesn't that only last for like 10 years or whatever?
I'm not sure. I think it may. I'm speaking under correction, but it may have been reduced to 5. But goodness, it's Tiger Woods, right?
Also, is the other one that I was wondering about is the U.S. Open field. I obviously won the Masters in 2019. I think that's a 5-year deal into the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
But there's been instances where guys have gotten.
Yeah, they reserve the right to give extra invitations.
Yeah. And that would be obviously no problem. Patrick, here's the quote. He said, as far as team golf, so he was asked about he was asked about team golf and its place in the future ecosystem. So when I hear team golf, I just presume we're kind of talking about live. I think there's a way in which we can all benefit from team golf. It's just how do we do it? We're trying to figure out that process now. We've been doing it for months, trying to figure out how that all works. What does the landscape even look like, and where do we play? So this is the part that kind of piqued my interest. Where do we play, and what impact does it have on our PGA Tour schedule? So you're like, oh, you're trying to seemingly fit in some different things with the normal PGA Tour schedule. I think that's something that we have focused on and we don't take lightly. Did that pique your interest as well, or am I reading too much into that?
I think it did. And another quote he had, which was pretty similar to that, was murky. He was talking about the murky waters of the future of the professional landscape and the PGA Tour, and whether it meant it was going to merge with Live, or whether team golf was still going to be relevant, whether that's, Live Golf or even the TGL for all we know. There's some team golf involved there. And look, I've said all along, I kind of think there's going to be some sort of team aspect with, the Saudi Arabian PIF and the PGA Tour merging together, whether that means, championship style league, Champions League type style thing, where the best players in the world have a team event once a month, once every couple months, something along that. And they kind of travel around to different parts of the world. That's what I envision. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition at all, but I think Tiger seemed very frustrated about, obviously, the lack of what's the word I'm looking for, from Jay Monahan.
Communication.
Yeah, communication from Jay Monahan, and he seemed to be a little frustrated with the pace of the progress of the negotiations. He would like for those to pick up. He says there's a lot of options on the table, whether that means from Fenway Group, the Saudi Arabian PIF, other private equity firms. And he mentioned that he does believe a deal will be done of some sort, and whether that is by the year-end deadline or not, he can't really say at the moment. But I think it was really enlightening to hear him talk about it, because, we haven't heard really anyone talk about it with as much detail as Tiger just did.